In 1952, a mother and her young son were having breakfast by the lakeshore when they saw something unbelievable, a massive neck rising out of the water. It was only 20 meters away. They watched for several minutes, frozen in shock. Then, the creature slowly sank back into the depths and was never seen again. Loch Ness, in the heart of Scotland, stretches for 23 miles and plunges 755 feet deep, a vast body of water that has inspired whispers for centuries. For thousands of years, locals have told stories about something living beneath its dark surface. But the modern legend began in 1933. That spring, a local newspaper printed a shocking report. A couple driving along the lake had seen huge waves and a monstrous shape moving in the water. Once the story hit the press, the world turned its eyes to Loch Ness. On July 22, 1933, George Spicer and his wife Julia were driving when a strange creature crossed the road right in front of them. Their description was astonishing: a massive body, a long neck, and a small head. The creature disappeared into the lake. That was only the beginning. In the weeks that followed, dozens of witnesses came forward: fishermen, tourists, locals, even police officers, all reporting strange shapes and movements in the water. Then things got even more interesting. In November 1933, a man named Hugh Gray was walking near the village of Foyer when he spotted something large moving in the lake. He grabbed his camera and took 5 photos. Only one turned out, and it was blurry. The image showed a large, indistinct form breaking the surface. Some believed it was the monster. Others said it was just a dog or a fish. But the debate had begun. In April 1934, the most famous monster photo in history was taken. A London surgeon named Robert Kenneth Wilson was walking along the lake early in the morning when he saw a creature with a long neck gliding through the water. He snapped a picture. The image shook the world, an elegant neck and small head rising above the surface. It became known as the surgeon's photograph, and for 60 years, it was considered the greatest proof that the Loch Ness Monster was real. But the real shock came decades later. In 1994, a confession surfaced. The photograph was a hoax. Someone had attached a fake neck to a toy submarine and set it afloat. Wilson and his friends had done it as a joke, but the joke spiraled out of control. The world had believed in a fake for over half a century. Skeptics celebrated. See? It's all lies, all fiction. But wait, if that photograph was fake, what about all the other sightings? In the 1960s, an aeronautical engineer named Tim Dinsdale visited Loch Ness as a skeptic, but what he saw changed him forever. He filmed a large moving object in the water. Experts studied the footage. Even the Royal Air Force Intelligence Unit analyzed it and concluded it was probably a large animate object. From that day on, Dinsdale dedicated his life to investigating Loch Ness. He returned more than 50 times and spent thousands of hours observing the lake. He never found absolute proof, but he never lost faith. When he died in 1987, he still believed something was there. Was he delusional, or did he truly see something real? The 1970s brought technology into the hunt. American lawyer and researcher Robert Rines brought sonar and underwater cameras to Loch Ness. In 1972, his team from the Academy of Applied Science conducted extensive research. Sonar detected large moving objects, and underwater cameras captured blurry but intriguing images. One photo seemed to show a fin-like shape. Another, the silhouette of a long-necked creature. You haven't seen the biggest twist yet. Rines presented the photos to the scientific community. Some were impressed, even proposing a scientific name, Nessiterus rhombopteryx, the Ness creature with diamond-shaped fins. But others remained skeptical. The images were too blurry, too ambiguous. They could have been fish, debris, or wave distortions. In 1987, Operation Deep Scan took place, the most comprehensive search in Loch Ness history. 24 boats equipped with advanced sonar swept the lake from end to end. The result? A few interesting readings, but no solid proof. Strange shapes were detected at the bottom, but they might have been rocks, wrecks, or large fish. In 2003, the BBC carried out a full-scale investigation using satellite navigation and 600 sonar beams to scan every inch of the lake. The result was clear. No giant unknown creature was found. The BBC concluded there was no monster in Loch Ness. But that was far from the end. In 2018, scientists tried a new method, environmental DNA analysis. Every living organism leaves genetic traces in the water it inhabits. Researchers collected 250 samples from Loch Ness and analyzed them. They found fish, eels, birds, mammals, everything expected. But a giant unknown species? Nothing. There was, however, one fascinating discovery: an enormous amount of eel DNA. Professor Neil Gemmell, who led the study, suggested a new theory. Perhaps people were seeing giant eels. European eels usually grow up to 1 meter, but in rare cases can reach 2. In the dark waters of Loch Ness, a large eel might easily be mistaken for a long-necked monster. And yet, people still believe. Gary Campbell runs the official Loch Ness Monster sightings register. New reports come in every year. 18 sightings in 2019, 6 in 2020, despite the pandemic. People still claim to see huge waves, dark shadows, shapes rising from the water. So, what's the truth? Science is clear. There is no prehistoric monster in Loch Ness. No genetic evidence. No reliable photograph. No definitive sonar data. And yet millions still believe. Why? Because human nature loves mystery. We crave the unknown. We want to believe something might be there. Loch Ness isn't just a lake. It's a symbol. It reminds us that the world still holds places of wonder, that science doesn't have all the answers, and that imagination still matters. Every year, hundreds of thousands visit Loch Ness. They stare out across its dark waters, hoping to see something. And maybe that hope itself is more powerful than any monster. The 1952 sighting by Greta Finley and her son Harry remains one of the most convincing eyewitness accounts. They saw something at close range, 20 meters away, for several minutes. Both described it the same way. It was a terrifying experience. Were they lying? Mistaken? Or did they truly see something unexplained? Tim Dinsdale's 1960 film is still debated. Was it a boat? An animal? Or something truly unknown? No one can say for sure. And that uncertainty keeps the legend alive. Maybe that's the truth. It doesn't matter whether the Loch Ness Monster exists or not. What matters is that humanity still believes, still dreams, still searches. No matter how advanced science becomes, people will always look into the dark waters and wonder what might be down there. In that sense, the legend is real, because the belief itself is alive. The legend continues. New sightings are reported every year. New theories emerge. Maybe one day we'll find undeniable proof. Or maybe we never will. But Loch Ness still guards its secrets, and the world is still watching. So, what do you think? Is there really something in Loch Ness? Are all the witnesses wrong? Or is there a phenomenon science just hasn't explained yet? If tomorrow the truth came out, would you be disappointed or amazed? Tell us in the comments. And if you love mysteries, unexplained phenomena, and the hidden stories of history, don't forget to subscribe, because the world holds far more secrets than Loch Ness alone. See you in the next video. See you in the next video. So maybe the biggest question of all is this: why Loch Ness? There are thousands of lakes in the world, yet none as famous as this one. There are reasons for that. First, Loch Ness is truly massive. It holds more water than all the lakes in England and Wales combined. It's 755 feet deep, dark, cold, and endlessly mysterious. Second, the media explosion of 1933 came at exactly the right moment. Newspapers were hungry for new stories. Photography was becoming widespread. People were craving adventure. Loch Ness offered the perfect mystery. Third, and perhaps most importantly, Scotland already had its own mythology. For centuries, the Celts told stories about water creatures, kelpies, the horse-shaped water spirits, and each uisge, the deadly water horses. Scottish folklore was filled with tales of aquatic monsters. Loch Ness simply became the modern version of those ancient legends. But here's the fascinating part. Sightings were reported even before Loch Ness became famous. In the year 565, an Irish missionary named Saint Columba was said to have encountered a monster in the River Ness and driven it away. At least, that's what the historical records claim. Of course, the story was written centuries later and probably carries mythical elements. Still, it shows that the Loch Ness legend has very deep roots. During the 1800s and early 1900s, strange sightings were occasionally reported, but they remained local tales. None captured national or international attention until 1933. George Spicer's sighting changed everything because it happened at the perfect time, in the perfect place. The Inverness Courier published his story, and suddenly, the entire world was talking about Loch Ness. Another key detail, in 1933, a new road was built along the lakeshore, the A82 highway. It made the lake more accessible. More people passed by. More eyes were watching the water. Naturally, more sightings were reported. Skeptics argue that this was no coincidence, that people expected to see something because of the stories they had heard. Expectation shaped perception. Psychologists know this phenomenon well. It's called pareidolia, the human brain's tendency to find meaning in random patterns. We see faces in clouds, animals in tree bark. On a dark, rippling lake, a floating log or a large fish can easily look like a giant creature when combined with shadows. And if you already have a monster in your mind, you'll interpret what you see through that lens. But does that explain all the sightings? Some accounts include very specific details. In 1934, a motorcyclist named Arthur Grant was riding along the lake at night when he saw a huge creature blocking the road. Grant knew animals. He studied livestock and recognized wild species. He swore that what he saw matched nothing known to science. It had the body of a seal or shark, a long neck, and a small head. When the creature noticed him, it panicked and fled toward the lake. In 1938, a man named G.E. Taylor filmed a 3-minute clip while vacationing at Loch Ness. The footage showed something moving across the water. Taylor tried to sell the film, but it's unclear if he ever succeeded. Years later, it vanished. Only a few still frames survive. But even that proves something. As far back as the 1930s, people were seeing and recording strange things in Loch Ness. During World War II, Loch Ness research came to a halt. People had more pressing concerns. But after the war, public fascination returned. By the 1950s and 60s, Loch Ness had become a major tourist destination. Hotels opened, souvenir shops sold Nessie trinkets, and the legend became an economic phenomenon. In 1962, the Loch Ness Phenomena Investigation Bureau was founded. Serious researchers, scientists, and enthusiasts joined forces. They camped by the lake for years, using cameras, binoculars, and eventually sonar. Thousands of hours of observation produced a few intriguing photos and some odd sonar signals, but no definitive proof. The studies led by Robert Rines in the 1970s were perhaps the most scientific. Rines wasn't just an amateur enthusiast. He was a respected inventor, lawyer, and researcher. With support from MIT, he secured funding and developed advanced sonar and underwater camera systems. During expeditions in 1972 and 1975, his team gathered several curious results. One photo from 1972, known as the flipper photograph, appeared to show a large, fin-shaped structure about 5 to 6 feet long. Rines and his team believed it was the creature's flipper. They digitally enhanced the image to clarify it. Skeptics, however, argued that it could have been a fish, underwater plants, or a photographic artifact. Another photo from 1975 was even more controversial. It seemed to show the outline of a long-necked creature with a small head. Rines submitted the images to Nature and Science magazines, but both declined to publish them. The photos were too blurry, the conditions uncertain, the results unrepeatable. Rines was so convinced that he even proposed a scientific name for the creature, Nessiterus rhombopteryx, meaning the Ness Monster with diamond-shaped fins. Some scientists accepted the idea, most did not. Naming a species requires solid evidence, a specimen, genetic data, detailed anatomy. None existed. There was also a curious coincidence. The name Nessiterus rhombopteryx is an anagram for Monster Hoax by Sir Peter S. Some thought it was a deliberate joke. but Rhines denied it, calling it pure coincidence. Technology advanced through the 1980s and 90s, but the results remained the same. Better sonar, clearer cameras, more powerful computers, yet still no proof. The 1987 Operation Deep Scan was a huge disappointment. So much effort, so many resources, and only a handful of suspicious signals. In the 2000s, the digital revolution changed everything. Everyone had a camera in their pocket. Millions of tourists visited Loch Ness, ready to capture the moment if the creature appeared. If a giant animal really lived there, surely someone would have taken a clear photo by now. But they hadn't. Most of the photos turned out to be fake or misinterpreted. Waves, logs, boats, birds, all published as monster photos. In the age of social media, every blurry image can go viral, but none withstand serious analysis. In 2019, a new theory emerged. Some researchers suggested that Loch Ness sightings might actually be linked to minor earthquakes. Scotland isn't known for high seismic activity, but small tremors occur occasionally. These could release gas bubbles from the lakebed, creating strange waves and shapes. Seen from a distance, especially in dim light, they might look like a moving creature. Another theory focuses on the lake's unique hydrodynamics. Loch Ness is both deep and long. Wind and temperature shifts create complex water currents. A phenomenon called seiche, a massive oscillation, can produce unexpected waves and eddies that appear alive when viewed from afar. In 2021, during the pandemic, tourist numbers dropped, and so did monster sightings. For skeptics, this was strong evidence. If the creature were real, it should be seen regardless of tourism. The fact that sightings rose and fell with visitor numbers suggested a psychological factor. People were seeing what they wanted to see. Still, not all cases can be dismissed. In 2011, a tour boat captain named George Edwards photographed a large, dark, hump-like shape on the water. Edwards had worked on the lake for 26 years and claimed he'd never seen anything like it. The photo was analyzed, no signs of Photoshop, yet no one could identify what it was. Edwards himself wasn't sure. Maybe a seal, maybe a big fish, maybe wreckage below the surface. By 2016, drone technology entered the search. Aerial and thermal imaging scanned the lake from above. If a large, warm-blooded creature existed, it should have appeared on infrared. It didn't. The 2018 DNA study may have been the most conclusive. Genetic analysis doesn't lie. Every organism in the lake leaves traces of DNA. Scientists tested the samples and found fish, eels, birds, mammals, likely deer or sheep drinking from the lake, bacteria, algae, but no large, unknown species. Neil Gemmel's giant eel theory made sense. The DNA data showed eels were the dominant species. European eels are usually small, but some have grown to 10 feet long. In the dark, murky waters of Loch Ness, one, or several, oversized eels could easily look like a long-necked monster. Still, that theory doesn't explain everything. Some witnesses describe flipper-like fins, a humped body, and a small head, features that don't fit an eel. Maybe the truth is that there isn't just one explanation. Each sighting is different. Some are giant eels, some are water birds. Cormorants can look uncanny from a distance. Some are logs, waves, or boats. Some are psychological. People see what they expect to see. And maybe, just maybe, a few are still unexplainable. There's also the economic factor. Loch Ness tourism brings millions of pounds to the Scottish economy each year. Hotels, restaurants, tour boats, souvenir shops all thrive because of Nessie. If definitive proof came out tomorrow that no monster exists, it would be an economic disaster. Skeptics argue that's why locals keep the legend alive, but that's not fair. Most witnesses are honest people. They're not seeking fame or money. They simply report what they saw. Sure, some may be mistaken, but calling them all liars or frauds isn't right. Gary Campbell's official Loch Ness Monster Sightings Register carefully reviews each report. Obvious fakes are rejected. Easily explainable ones are filtered out. What remains are the genuinely puzzling cases. Few, but impossible to ignore. Most scientists agree there's no large, unknown creature in Loch Ness. but a few remain open-minded. Never say never, they caution. After all, science has been proven wrong before. The coelacanth was thought to have gone extinct 65 million years ago, until a living one was found in 1938. The giant squid was once myth until it wasn't. Maybe there's still something in Loch Ness that we haven't discovered. Realistically, though, the odds are slim. A breeding population would need many individuals. Could Loch Ness support that many? Probably not. And after a century of constant observation, how could they remain hidden? In the age of modern technology, almost impossible. In the end, the Loch Ness Monster is probably a legend, but that doesn't make it any less valuable. The legend represents humanity's imagination, curiosity, and desire to explore. It reminds us that there's still room for mystery in the world, still things we don't understand. And that hope, that wonder, is something beautiful. Millions of people visit Loch Ness, not just to see the monster, but to experience the landscape, the castles, and the culture of Scotland. Yet deep down, they all share the same hope, that maybe, just maybe, they'll be lucky enough to see something rise from the dark water. And that maybe is what makes Loch Ness special. Not certainty, but possibility. Not proof, but belief. Not science, but imagination. In our modern world, where everything is explained and nothing feels unknown, Loch Ness still keeps a secret. And perhaps that secret should never be solved. What do you think? Is there really something in Loch Ness? Are all the witnesses mistaken? Or is there a phenomenon science hasn't yet explained? If absolute proof appeared tomorrow, would you feel disappointed or amazed? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if mysteries, unexplained events, and hidden stories from history fascinate you, don't forget to subscribe, because the world holds far more secrets than Loch Ness alone. See you in the next video.